Well, hello again, welcome back. Thanks for visiting once again, everyone, and nice to see you. This is the next, nearly the last instalment of the M52 video series that I'm doing for a 3D printed resin model. I've had quite a lot of good feedback off the comments from this. Not many views, but that's fine. I think there's a small but dedicated crew of people who are interested in this sort of thing. And it is to you whom perhaps I address myself on this day. But I think that there is some potential for growth in 3D modelling, particularly for, as I've said before on Moss's live streams and elsewhere, for low production run models of this kind. So the Miles M52, say the Bristol 188, the what was called the flying pencil. So test aircraft, those sort of things that perhaps weren't widely known. The 3D boys can tool up and print these really pretty easily, and as you can see, I've got the wings on and so on and so forth, and I've also got the roundel markings on, because what I'm doing here with this is going to paint these roundel markings. Now, the methodology I use for this is something that was of interest to a commenter. I think it was a chap called Jim on the last video, so I thought, well, by way of follow-up, what I'll do is I'll just go through this quickly. So just so that you know, I've put on the P markers and painted them in already as a sort of demonstration there, and we'll just zero in a little bit on that, and you can see that one there. It's quite delicate and has to be put on really quite carefully, but if you keep the paint dry on the mask, it comes out really quite nicely. Now, I had to pick and choose the printed or the cut decals, roundels that I used, because for some reason the markings that I chose didn't come out particularly well. Some of them were not perfectly circular and so on, so I've done several prints of this, and as I said, I picked the best ones I could find out of these, and hopefully these will come out fairly well registered. But I wanted to just briefly show you exactly how I'm going to do this in terms of painting in the roundels. And a word or two about the material to begin with. This is a vinyl. It's what they call it, smart vinyl in Cricut world, or Cricut world, whatever you want to call it. And it's, I can't get that off. Let's try this one. Just bend to the corner, and that should give us a marking that will allow us to, there we go. This is vinyl, sticky back vinyl, and it's very easy to work with and addresses the surface quite well, but it's much less stretchy than kabuki tape, and consequently I think this stuff is actually rather easier to use. The other thing, of course, is that you can in fact see through it very easily. It allows things to travel, light to travel through it fairly easily, which makes it easy to see where you're sighting these to get the best possible setup. So what I've done is I've circumvented some of this by actually setting these up, and as you can see, I've tried to set them up in pretty much the same locations in every case, and hopefully they'll come out all right. But the way I'm going to do this, just to zero in a little bit on this for you, is to find my poker wherever it is. There it is, look. I'll just have a quick poke round. I'm going to paint the blue marking to begin with, and then after having painted the blue marking, I'll just zero back out a little bit. I'm going to then take that round section and put it back in on each case after that paint's dried and hardened. I'll then do the inside one, which is the red marking. So I'll remove that circle there in all 6 cases. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'll do the fin flashes at the same time as well. As you can see, they're all prepared for it now. And then finally I'll do the white. Now, I've done this before in this way, so on each case I paint down and then put the round marking back, lift the center one, paint, and then put that back, and then lift the white one, and then I can lift the lot after that. So then you have a complete roundel at that stage. I've done it this way several times, and what you don't get is overspray, but you do get, as long as the cut of the roundel is in perfect symmetry, you don't get loss of register in terms of having one circle out with another, which is annoying because it only needs to be a little bit out for it to look bloody awful. So we'll do it that way round, but sighting these, because you can see through them, is, as I've said, really very much easier than people think. And because there is a panel line here, just up in that area there, it's covered by tape at the moment, I'm able to line up that square mask on the panel line there, and then also line up the centre of this smallest circle here, so that it's the same in both cases. And in that way then I can make certain that I get all of that correct, and then when we come to look at this after the paint job is complete and we've put some varnish down and done maybe a little weathering and such like, it should look pretty good. I'm hopeful anyway, let's put it like that. The other thing actually is interesting to note, I don't know if you can see this at all, let's we'll zero in on this just a little bit and just see if we can show you this. An opportunity to see the print. There you go, you can just about see that. So if we look at the back here, not so much, but if we look here you can see a series of horizontal lines. That is the printing of the model. So what you need to do, and I've done this to some extent here but not enough clearly, and it's not shown up until really just now, it's very important to sand this away. Now you can use a 600 or 800 grit sanding stick quite gently and you can remove it reasonably easily. It's the same on the wing sections. You can see the wing sections, I've pretty much got them right, and that, so those markings have gone, and on the tail sections as well. But on the bodywork where it's round here, it's not so good. Yeah, you can kind of see it underneath here. It's disappeared there, but not so much here. So this was clearly more pronounced than the other bits, but there we are. So that's just one of the things to look out for here. The other thing to look out for is the sprue connectors on the main body parts. I think it would be a good idea to cut the sprue connectors slightly away from these jointed surfaces here, rather than right into them, because what you have is, imagine my finger has been 3D printed. This pointer acts like the sprue connector, and the sprue connector comes to a point. There's a zero in, I'll show you exactly what I mean. So if my nail has been 3D printed, for example, the sprue connector comes to a point in very much the same way as this pointer does, and if you cut the point right down to the nail, as it were, then what you get is an artifact of this sprue joint, whereas if you cut slightly above it, above the point, you can then file that and the artifact will disappear. So I think it's important to get that right, and I didn't get it right on this, and I need to attend to that in similarly designed models later on. I may choose to make a 1/32 scale version of this at some stage. I might do that, and if I do, then obviously this is a lesson well learned. From arm's length, which, I mean, you're looking at this pretty much from arm's length, you can't really see it, to be honest with you. It doesn't really look that bad, and under some weathering it will probably disappear virtually completely, because this line will be darkened with a panel liner, of course, as will this one and so on. So, but it's worthwhile knowing, in terms of the joints in between the wings here, these went really well, very easy. Used the black glue, I may have mentioned this is the black slow dry stuff, and just used capillary action to get that in, and that was dead easy. This little Johnson here is a template that allows you to get the dihedral of the wings absolutely correct. So in the main, this has come out really very nicely, to be honest with you, so far. So there you are, just under 10-minute video, just to show you the roundel marking. One final thing, actually, I will just mention. You've probably noticed the numbers here, 1 to 6. You'll also notice corresponding marks on these stickers here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've done that so that I can match these round rings to the exact roundels that they came off. So there will be absolutely no register differences at all if I can avoid them. If you don't do that, there is a chance that maybe if the thing is not cutting quite round, there'll be differences between the roundels. So 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3, and so on. I've done the same thing with the fin flashes as well, 1 on one side and 2 on the other. Of course, don't forget that blue is the rearmost fin flash colour, white is central, and red is always on the front. So that's one to remember there, and obviously that is borne out in this splendid picture here of the M52 that Aerocraft models give you if you decide to purchase one of their splendid kits. And I think it's worthwhile doing, to be honest with you, if only just for the experience. There's a 1/48, there's a 1/32 and a 1/72 scale version of it, and if you only do it for the experience of it, it's again a seasoned modeler, even if the material is new to them, would probably do one of these in a weekend perfectly happily. You know, they go together very quickly and can be assembled with great rapidity. So there we are. Anyway, more next time, and I hope that you enjoyed just that short video to bring you up to date on the Miles M52, and thank you very much indeed for your time this fine evening. Look forward to seeing you either on one of Moss's lives or on the next one here. Thanks very much indeed. Take care for now.